Pamela Gates was recently named the new presiding judge of Maricopa County. She previously served as a Superior Court judge and has been appointed to multiple statewide committees. To learn more about her plans during her tenure, we welcome back to the show Judge Pamela Gates. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We were chatting just before the show, and you come from a small town in Iowa with a big prison, and I thought, oh, that must be what interests you in law, and you said no. So tell me, what did it?
It seems like it should, but it didn't. I grew up in a small community, as I said, from a family farm, and I didn't know any lawyers. I didn't know anyone who was involved in the law. But when I was 5 years old, I was sitting around our dinner table, and I told my family that I wanted to grow up to be a lawyer. And my family erupted with laughter, and my grandmother said, "That's not what we Frasers do, and that's definitely not what girls do." And I don't think there was a person more proud of me than when I graduated from law school. But you would think that that's why I got interested in law, but I think it was just something, it was kind of destiny.
And once somebody said, that's not what we do, maybe you were like, I will prove you wrong. So
that's what my grandma said. She said the moment that she thought that I couldn't, probably solidified the probability that I would.
That leads to a lot of successful people, I think. You have in the past said that judges must balance efficiency with recognizing the high emotional stakes of cases. So how do you instill that when you've got thousands of staff and judges across the county?
I think it's really important for us to remember how people get to the court, that they are oftentimes in acute trauma. For them, they probably didn't sleep last night. They probably told their friends and family that they were coming to court, or maybe they were too embarrassed to tell anyone that they were coming to court. But that day is so meaningful to them. And to us, it's Tuesday. And we can never forget the importance of each decision we make. And we have to show unyielding fidelity to the rule of law, but we have to remember to do it in a way that's compassionate and fair.
You've chaired and been involved with several committees focused on artificial intelligence. So before we dive into what can and can't, or maybe will or won't be involved in the court system here, can you define as simply as possible sort of the difference when people hear AI versus generative AI?
Sure. So artificial intelligence is everywhere in our world. It's in our Google searches, and it's our spell check. It's absolutely everywhere, in our car, in our phone. Generative AI is creating something that didn't exist before. It is using a large language model to predict and produce something that didn't exist before. And generative AI is what we're analyzing and determining appropriate and safe use within the court.
You're working on identifying that. Are there any obvious ones or anything that you think down the road that you will use?
Sure. One obvious use is for individuals to access our court services. So, for example, if somebody is coming in and they want a divorce, they might be looking through all of the court forms that say petition for dissolution of marriage, where they might be able to use a generative AI tool to say they want a divorce, explain how many children they have, what their assets are, what their debts are, and provide narrative information. And that generative AI, guided by a system that we create, can help them prepare their documents to be filed, and then can help them understand the next step in the court proceeding. So we are considering and evaluating its use and access to justice.
A few months ago, there was a local case that made national, perhaps even international news, when a local woman used an AI-generated image of her brother who was killed in a road rage incident and used that during the victim impact statement. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something that you felt okay with, and do you think we'll see more of that?
I think we will see uses of that in court. When somebody is presenting to the court during sentencing, oftentimes victims or individuals impacted by crimes share with us what they feel their loved one would have said. So it's very common for somebody to get up and say, my brother would have told you. My brother would forgive the defendant. It felt different when we had an avatar of the victim speaking, but I hope we are putting some parameters in place so that everyone provides the court notice in advance so that we have proper procedures to be able to consider those types of presentations in a more thoughtful and meaningful way.
We have about 30 seconds left, so this might be tight for you, but as courts become more digital, how do you ensure that there's not that barrier for people when it comes to technology?
That's a great question. We are always cognizant of the digital divide and making sure that we put procedures in place to overcome any challenges that people have when they don't have access to technology.
So there's always a person that can be talked to. Thank you.
Always
Thank
a person.
you.
Yes.
I'm often technically challenged, so thank you. Pamela Gates, Presiding Judge of Maricopa County. Thank you so much for coming in.
And thanks for having me.